Let us go to the phones in Phoenix, Arizona. Danny, you're on the line of fire.
Hey, Dr. Brown, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. I just wanted to ask you a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question, I actually have two questions, but I'll just do one for now, and then if you want to hear the second one, let me know. But the second one is the Torah is clear that none of it may be removed or added to, as clearly laid out in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2 specifically, i.e. it may not be changed. This is reflected over and over again throughout Tanakh. Psalm 19 says, the Torah of the Lord is perfect, restoring the soul, making the simple wise.
Yep.
When Jesus gives his Sermon on the Mount, he says, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart.
Yeah.
Jesus is self-admittedly changing what the Torah teaches. How do you accept this?
Well, he's not changing anything. Did he say it's okay to commit adultery?
He's saying, he says, but I think...
Hang on. Did he say it's okay to commit adultery?
No.
All right, so he didn't change anything. That's reinforced 100%.
Okay.
He's simply taking a requirement deeper. Where does it say? Where does it say that? And by the way, Jewish discussion of that day, Talmudic discussion, some of it talks about that as well. That it's also you commit adultery when you lust in your heart. So this was part of Jewish discussion in that day as well. So what it's saying is you cannot now forbid. And you cannot now say, okay, it's okay to commit adultery. That would be changing. That would be taking away a commandment. Or you could add a commandment saying you're not even allowed to have sexual relations with your own wife. But by saying, hey, you haven't taken the adultery commandment far enough. For example, lo tignov, do not steal. What do many of the rabbis say? That means don't kidnap. That's actually what stealing means, stealing a person, don't kidnap. Well, are they adding or are they defining? Jesus is saying you need to take this even deeper. He's not adding and he's not taking away.
Okay, Dr. Brown, but the problem is, who in this world can possibly not ever have a thought, a lust?
Well, doesn't the Ten Commandments...
commitment? Huh?
Yeah, sure, but don't the Ten Commandments require? Don't the Ten Commandments require that?
No, it's an act. It says
no. What's the last of the Ten Commandments, Danny?
It says you cannot covet.
Don't covet. Isn't that a thought? Don't covet your neighbor's wife. So when you think a lustful thought about your neighbor's wife, aren't you saying, "Oh, I wish I could be with her. I wish I could sleep with her"?
I mean,
isn't that a thought? Isn't that a thought?
No, Jesus is saying
Danny, hang on. Danny, hang on. I'm trying to help you.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Is coveting a thought?
Is coveting a thought?
Yeah. Don't covet your neighbor's house. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. Is coveting a thought, a desire?
Don't covet what your neighbor has.
Don't covet your neighbor's wife, okay? So your wife just had her second...
How does that have anything to do with lust?
Well, when you covet your neighbor's wife, what are you coveting? Boy, I really wish that she could cook pancakes for me in the morning.
What if I'm not married? What if I'm not married and my neighbor is married?
Oh, okay, and you think, boy, I wish I had a wife like that. That's a thought.
No.
I wish I had my neighbor's wife. Here, Danny. Danny.
Okay, go ahead.
The rabbis freely acknowledge. Jewish tradition freely acknowledges. Danny.
Use what the Torah says.
If you keep interrupting, here, tell you what, buddy. Tell you what. Your problem is you're not listening. You know, the book of Proverbs tells us over and over that a wise man will listen. And when you come with a preconceived argument that you're going to raise, completely ignorant of Jewish discussion surrounding it, and trying to score a Jewish point on the radio show, all you do is say, Dr. Brown, I'm not willing to listen. I'm not willing to hear. I don't want to grow in wisdom. So tell you what, you get a minute to think about it. If you're willing to hear, I'm here to help. Fair enough? But The fact that is universally recognized is that the command not to covet has to do with the desire of the heart. Can we at least be honest there? Welcome back to the Line of Fire broadcast. You've got questions, we've got answers. 866-348-7884 is the number to call. I want to go back to Danny in Phoenix. So, simple question, sir. Are you willing to acknowledge that the commandment not to covet has to do with desires of the heart?
Yes, I acknowledge that, yes.
Okay, right. So how is that possible to never desire and allow yourself to desire something that your neighbor has? And if, for example, it's the idea of desiring your neighbor's wife, maybe your wife just had a couple of kids and she's a little bit overweight and she's not as affectionate as she used to be, and your neighbor's got this beautiful young gal and she likes to parade outside in her bathing suit and things like that. Don't covet. It's the same thing. It's don't look at her and think, wow, look at the way she looks, or I'd like to have sex with her, or what if I was married to her? Boy, I'd like that. That's coveting. So yeah, in the natural, it's not possible to do this. We need God's help. And that's part of the purpose of the Torah, is to reveal our need for God, to reveal our need for Savior. That's why we have an atonement system and Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, because we need forgiveness. So it's built in to the Torah is the fact we're going to fall short and we need forgiveness and cleansing. Does that make sense to you?
I still don't see how that answers the question, Dr. Brown. I really don't. Because we're talking about two separate commandments. Why would God give us two different commandments that mean the same exact thing?
They don't mean the same exact thing.
He could have left out the "you shall not commit adultery." He could have left that out, and it would have meant the same thing. So,
no. Hang on.
Okay,
not at all. It's one thing to have sex with your neighbor's wife. It's another thing to covet your neighbor's wife. And the fact is, if you steal, okay, how about stealing? Why not just leave that out? Because that would be included in coveting. No, there's the act involved. I mean, you're trying to be pedantic to prove a point. But number one, Yeshua does not add or take away. The rabbis do all the time.
How do the rabbis take away? How do the rabbis do that? Explain.
Oh, sure. Easy. Very easy.
Okay.
Do you light Sabbath candles?
Of course.
All right. What do you pray? What does your wife pray? Or the woman of the house? What does she pray when she lights them?
She does a blessing over the candles.
What does the blessing say?
Says, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Right.
Asher kiddushanu l'mitzvotav
v'tzivanu
ad l'kner shel Shabbat HaKodesh.
Where did God command you to light Sabbath candles?
The
It's a mitzvah. That's a command.
That this is a rabbinic command.
But that's adding to the Torah.
This is not changing the Torah. No, they don't say that this is a change of the Torah. They say this is a rabbinic command.
Hang on. So they can give commands, but that's not adding to the Torah? So you don't have to do it. In other words, if you choose not to do it, if you choose, Midrabanan versus Midoraita. Now, some actually include the 7 rabbinic commandments in the 613. I'm sure you know that. Yes. Some actually include them in the 613 commandments of the Torah. So that's a whole separate debate. So you have no problem in not doing it because it's not in the Torah. In other words, it's not binding on you because it's not in the Torah.
No, absolutely not. And any rabbi would say the same thing.
It is binding.
Do it because it's not in the Torah. You could, but it is rabbinic, and they're clear.
So you're saying, okay, you don't have to do it. You're saying you don't have. It's not the same as observe the Sabbath or honor your father and mother. This is different, and you don't have to do it. You actually believe that. You're actually saying that.
We do it. We do it because we believe in the oral Torah. Of course. So of course.
Right. Well, that's a whole thing that's adding. Oh, okay. So don't add. Don't take away. Why did the rabbis abolish the death penalty at a certain point? Because there were so many cases of adultery, murder, and things that you couldn't do it. Well, who gave them the right to abolish it? No one gave them the right to abolish that. Or the fringes that.
How do you say it's abolished? I mean, you don't think it's going to be reinstated?
Well, forget the future. I'm talking about the past. No,
but you're saying abolish means forever.
No. They stopped it. Who gave them the right to stop it for a period of time because there were so many murders and so many adulteries? Who gave them the power and the authority to stop it? Where?
The Torah, in the same chapter 4, it says, safeguard my commandments. If they're not being applied correctly, you as people, as the sages, have the right to make changes to what is needed as long as they're acknowledged.
That's not what it says. That's not what the Hebrew says.
Yes,
that's
it is.
That is a complete here. So here's what's mind-boggling to me. Here's one of my big gripes with counter-missionaries and with religious Jews. They violate the commandment against equal weights and measures, that you will give your traditions 1,000,000 miles of latitude. I mean, an extraordinary amount of latitude, and justify virtually any kind of interpretation. And then when Yeshua says, and in harmony with rabbinic teaching of the day, or rabbinic teaching that subsequently developed, that you commit adultery also in your heart, you're going to say he's adding to the commandments. I mean, it's a mind-boggling example of double standards.
Question for you. The rabbis do not give any commandments. They don't change any commandments that actually cannot be completed. This is something Jesus says that cannot possibly be.
Well, okay, completed. That's where you're missing the point. Don't covet. That is having to do with a thought.
I'm talking about
read what Ibn Ezra. I'm talking about adultery also.
Why didn't he say don't covet?
All right, Danny. Once again, you are failing to think honestly, and I want to challenge you.
Okay.
I want to challenge you when we're off the air. In all seriousness, before God, because I believe you're a God-fearing person. Think honestly and ask. Am I trying to justify something, use some kind of Talmudic argument to prove a point when it's not really the point at all? Because why did God call you and command you not to covet? How do you have the ability to carry that out? Because included in that is love. Forget what Jesus taught about it. All right, let's say that doesn't exist. We're just going back to Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5, the Ten Commandments. God told you cannot covet your neighbor's wife. That would include adulterous thoughts about another woman. Why did God command that if you can't possibly do it?
It doesn't say that it includes that.
You're saying it doesn't? You're saying
I'm saying it does. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it doesn't say that.
Of course it includes. Well, then what does it mean to covet your neighbor's wife?
If I'm not married and my neighbor's married, maybe I want to be married.
No. Proverbs tells us whoever finds a wife finds a good thing, but not your neighbor's wife. I wish I was married to her. That's coveting your neighbor's wife. Okay, you've broken the commandment.
If I'm not married, then maybe.
All right, can you? Are you married?
No.
No. Okay. Your father was obviously married. Okay.
Yes.
If God commanded your father not to covet his neighbor's wife. So the entire time of marriage, he was not allowed to look at another woman and think, boy, I'd like to have that woman. Boy, I'd like to be with that woman. Boy, all right. Was he able to keep it or not?
I don't know. I don't know his thoughts.
Well, if he could keep that, why couldn't he keep the commandment not to commit adultery in his thought? See, all you're doing is playing games to make a point. I would have far more respect for your position if you were consistent. In all honesty and all sincerity, I would have far more respect for your position if you were consistent. Hey, I'm out of time. I've got to go. But by all means, let's talk again. And tell you what, read Ibn Ezra. Read Ibn Ezra's commentary on Exodus 20, the command not to covet. All right? See what he has to say.